Good evening, everyone. Good evening once again. Welcome to another Kaiso Talk program. It is Wednesday, and of course, at this time, this is what we do. We talk the talk. Yeah. This evening, we continue from where we left off last week. Of course, Val is always with us, and Zeno joined us last week. He's back with us to share and to talk Kaiso, and this is what we're going to do. And there's a lot of Kaiso action around. Of course, we getting ready for our Independence Calypso competition. That's going to be taking place on the 31st of January. That's the following Saturday. And of course, I know things are hot in Trinidad, with Carnival, coming up soon. I know they're getting ready for the competitions. The tents might be getting ready for their judging. I don't know if they've completed the audition, but a lot is happening. So Kaiso is in the air, and so we have to talk the talk. Val, good evening. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, Godfrey, and ready to have another Kaiso talk. And as I always say, welcome to Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique, and all the listeners up the Windward Isle. So that pretty good and ready to engage with our guests from last week.
Yes, yeah. Indeed. And of course, folks, I kind of forgot my manners. Let me apologize for the late start. We were experiencing, some little tech issues with, the virtual platform. And these things do happen from time to time. So we do apologize for that. Our friends on, especially on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and our folks on GBN TV and K105 FM. Zeno, good evening, man. It's a pleasure to have you back. I was telling Val, I am convinced that you're Kaiso's father. You know what I mean? Kaiso don't have to wonder and worry if they have a father. They're in very, very good hands. So how have you been doing, man?
Yeah, well, I want to say surviving, but that is not a positive statement. I had a friend, the extempo master, Big B, Bridge. You see, when you ask someone how they going, and they say, well, like this, I'm struggling, man, I'm struggling. Mm-hmm. You see, never like me to me struggling means you're fighting up, man, but you're fighting up, you're winning already. So I shouldn't say that I'm surviving. I don't survive. So I hear.
Right.
In the middle of the Calypso season, so my mind on Calypso.
Well, of course, people like us, our mind is always on Kaiso. We are Kaiso minds. So Val, how are things in Trinidad? How is the season shaping up?
Well,
Audition?
Things are bubbling, and since we have Zeno here, and I know that he has a little problem. He probably cannot stay the whole course this evening, so we wanna jump right into it, and throw some questions. I mean, last week when we finished, there was the Grenadian element to it that we wanted to talk about, and of course, as you mentioned earlier on, that the Calypso season is already started in Trinidad, and some tents may have already been judged, but there are tents that are now going to open this weekend and so on. Review is one, and Dynasty is another. But some new things are happening within the Carnival and within Calypso. Zeno, I don't know how much you are aware of it. I don't want to spend the evening on it, but it's clear that in the Carnival village there's an absence of Calypso. A predominance of soca, but no Calypso in the village, and so on, which is quite a new occurrence, given the whole politics of the day and so on. So I don't know whether you want to touch on that, whether you are aware, but those are developments that are taking place within the Carnival in Trinidad in the present. So
right.
I'll leave it there. And
I wasn't really aware that of the lack of Calypso, because all I saw so far, Kenny Philip with what radio and TV has bought the young kings and the queens in the semi-finals from the village. In fact, I spoke to him just a couple hours ago, And yes, soca. I think tomorrow night he's bringing Patrice Roberts in the concert. But there is I don't know, if you get 2 nights of Calypso so far, and you get one more, that might be the measure of the ratio of how into its popularity. The village seems to be doing well. The action is free generally, and there seem to be 1,000 people there every night, a packed thing. So that is one of the things that seems to have worked in this new dispensation for this carnival coming around, and that is good, right? Yeah. So, but I don't know that that in absence of Calypso, I don't know what shows they have. I'm seeing Errol Fabian on stage in some of the clips and so on, but I don't know if there's no Calypso per se as such. I don't know if I'm corrected on that. I don't know. But the season otherwise is going strong. You were referencing the tents being judged. I don't think any tents are judged so far. The unattached Calypsonians have been judged, I think, before last week. South and North. Tobago is next week. And the tents are being judged, I think, from next week. So there's no tent judging as yet. But the actual is warming up. We have seen tents opening. Kaiso, Classic
Russo. The South End.
No, the South End, they opening.
Oh, not open yet?
No, they open tomorrow, Friday night.
All right.
And then I think tomorrow night is review opening. And I think Friday night is also Dynasty, former Kaiso house.
Yes.
Those two. Right, so that will make the complement of the Trinidad tents. The smaller tents, missionaries from down south and central, rainbow from central area. They are both kicked off, right? Those tents are free and nobody just operate in a pub or any space they get. And they're really a kind of nutrient ground for people try to come into the big times and couldn't get into the big tents. So yes, it's going. And then competition-wise, I know the Junior Monarch, I think prelims have gone. The semis coming up. Because the Queen Show and the Young Kings prelims going, so the finals coming up. So yeah, that is it. And then they had those regional competitions. Hoover definitely prelims over, and they already named their final. I haven't heard of any of the others what they're doing so far.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Zed, last week when we finished, we have, because this is GBN and Grenada, we definitely need to talk, have discussions around Grenada's input, in terms of the Calypso development and so on. And I have some not, well, names, but not specifically Calypsonians, so that Grenadian who came to Trinidad and helped with the prohibition or the ending of the prohibition Baptist, is significant. Butler, William Monroe from River Road, who started Soca Monarch competition in 1993. That's a really good story. You have the two, Bama and his brother, King Solomon, and Bama, Sparrow, Valentino, and of course the others who were descendants of Grenadians. So I put that out there, and I throw it in your hands, Zeno, to
remember. Grenada is very close, and if you're looking for a better life, head north into North America, or they head south to the Trinidad. And there was this influx of Grenadians and Barbadians coming to us in the 1930s and 40s and so on. And people like Sir Galba and Small Island Pride, some of the original people.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Small Island Pride took his name after, I think it's in Veda's song, a Calypso song, Small Island, Go Back Where You Come From. That has been a recurring thing from years before, right? Which is a natural thing. I mean, not a healthy thing, but a natural thing. You know, when you see people from another island, another place, you know, who is all you? And according to the Calypso, they're taking all we land, and they're taking all we work, and they're taking all we thing. Go back where you come from. And in retaliation, Theophilus Woods called himself, but the pride of the small islands, the small island pride.
Yes.
And then Sir Galba, who, in a sense, was one of the first monarchs in Trinidad. We didn't establish official monarchs really until 1950 something. I mean, my attitude to that is 56 was the first year of a genuine Calypso monarch, because the first year we had the entire country getting a chance to be in the prelims. In 39 we had the 2 tents in the north, and we had this fledgling kind of Tuco, kind of Calypsonian Association, and a kind of Carnival Association joined together and created that 39 Calypso competition. But in the years between, tents would hold the old competition. And since the tents, the movement was very fluid. Nobody was contracted to stay. Right? You get up one morning and decide, I no longer want to be with Lion Tent. In the middle of the season, you're going to sing with somebody else. You know, you don't have a contract where you cannot go. And people would have their own competition, and one tent would just have it. And people, other times, would just refer around and say, hey, we could come in here now, and they would jump in. And so Galba one of those very early. It's not recognized as a monarch yet, but a worthy champion from early. And after that, we saw the coming of, the others, Sparrow, Bomber, and Tristan and Sparrow and Bomber. Sparrow came when he was, supposed to be at 18 months, which means Sparrow should not have remembered Grenada. Right? No, when I say he should not remember at that time, that when he got bigger and he went back home and thing, he would remember. Right? And I make this point because there's no Calypsonian from Grenada who has been more vilified for being from Grenada than Sparrow.
Definitely.
Sparrow only came here at 18 months. So you keep telling Sparrow, Grenadian, go back where you come from. But of all the people, he can't go back. He neighbors almost buried here. So on the other hand, Bomber came here when he was a big fella. I'm not sure the exact age, but 18 or 20. He had already won competitions in Grenada.
Yes.
He came across here. And Bomber was never given that kind of leveling off like Sparrow. So I've always found it interesting. Why? Even as late as 1975, when Sparrow had the incident in the savannah, from Robin, blast Sparrow and call him something Grenadian. Go back. But he almost going back to where? Because Sparrow was here. That's an interesting thing. Yeah. So those are some of the Calypsonians. I mean, we have others, who came, Dictator, Zebra, who made it big across here. And only learned the other day about Campanero.
Yes, Campanero is definitely from Buca.
Who came to look for a good living, and in some cases they never returned home. I know that Dictator, for instance, I think he returned home because Dictator was singing across here, and when his parents found out that he was singing Calypso, they went for him. Well, they came for him in Trinidad. They came for him. And they pelted him out to New York to study, I think, journalism. I'm not sure, but I think that is it. But the thing was so much in the blood that when he finished up there, he sneaked back inside here. So that he came here and despite their efforts, they couldn't keep him here, keep him out. And then Zebra went on to up the islands and other places and continued his craft. So those are some of the bigger ones. Those are the, when I say bigger, what do you call them? The originals who actually were born in Grenada and came across. You have a whole set of second generation people. I want to begin with Stalin, because when interesting story about Stalin, Stalin has always said that, like Melody, like the others, I can call a few names just now, that they were born here and their parents were Grenadians. But Valentino, who was born in Grenada and who became Stalin's friend, best friend, they were blood brothers, they were the two pioneers of that Black Power Calypsonian sentiment in the 70s. And Valentino told me just recently, a couple of years ago, Stalin is a funny fella, I see Stalin born in Grenada. Because while he came to Grenada about 4 or 5 years ago and met some people who told him, you see that house there? That's the house Stalin born in. I ain't do no forensic study of that. But Valentino is convinced that Stalin had to be that he really born there and then come here. But either way, Stalin belongs to a second generation of people with Grenadian parentage, super blue. Right? Somebody, I think it was Valentino himself, who was pointing out the shop that Super Blue's father used to own.
Yeah, actually, that's right up by me, man. That's right in my backyard.
Look at that, you see?
Yes.
So we have
La Poultry just down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Ella and Del, Melody.
Ella.
Mother is definitely Grenadian. I think singing Sandra.
Yeah, Sandra is Guelph. I didn't know about Melody. That's the first time I'm hearing that. I didn't realize Melody had.
Yeah, Melody's mother is supposed to be the Grenadian, but Melody grew up in a, here in an orphanage and thing. But that was supposed to be. So a whole set of second generation Grenadians too, right? And most of them, but most, they all remain here because they born and grew up here. But they, we now know. So the contribution of Grenada to Trinidad Calypso is tremendous because you're talking about names I call the monarchs. I mean, you can't get bigger than Sparrow, Bomber, Valentino, and then the second generation of Stalin, Ella, Sandra, Super Blue, and the Great Iowa, right? In fact, if you go to point 14, because some people say Duke also have that thing, but I'm not sure about that.
I think Duke is St. Vincent. I remember having a chat with him. Yeah, I think Duke, and Nelson as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's not to the big too. But I stand corrected on that. Yeah, what I'm saying is, when you go to point 14 and you hear them talk, you hear the Grenadian in them. Now, I was unaware of the Grenadian thing. I hear it when you sing about the Grenadian girl from Chantimel and so on. And he puts on this, accent to suit how the girl singing. Or like Melody in his Calypso, he's talking about the Grenadian girl he pick up and carry she home, and so on. But when I began to teach at Faizabad, we had a lot of children from Point 14 area. And you hear them saying things and you wonder how you could say that. Instead of saying they want a sweet drink, they will say sea drinks. That's supposed to be one you come to buy. Why you saying sea drinks? It's how you're going. Instead of saying Iris, they say Iris. And then I was singing, and it's one of his first public calypsos. Things hard, hold tight. You say if you're walking by the wrongs about. And I used to laugh and say,
that's Grenada.
And then somebody who had a Grenadian mother, the friend say, that is the Grenadian thing, You would say, the S is coming out there, walking by the wrongs about. And so on. And so I used to joke and say, when you hear a student in school say something like that, right? Either in the canteen, about the sweet drinks and so on, I say, aha, Grenadian. And sometimes they didn't realize that because that is the heritage that the language stay there still.
Yeah.
A very interesting thing. So to finish off this part, we pay a tremendous debt to Grenada where Calypso is concerned. And that's the day I was talking with tonight about who know from Grenada in these modern times who are the known ones. And we definitely have Talpri, and Jamu is big, Black Wizard was, and then they have Killer. Although a friend from Grenada, from Grenville, tell me, Killer is not from Grenada land, he's from Grenada next door.
And go up.
No, not. Oh, well, I know the go off story. Somebody told me that when people go off, people consider themselves from another island. See, as if they're from an island of their own. They have their own territory. No, what she was talking about, I don't know, and I forget what it was. It wasn't Cairo. It was some other island. She said Killer actually belongs.
Mind you, there is a Killer B from Caracou. But Mr. Killer is Grenadian, Guave. But we usually say Guave is a place for itself,
That's probably what you mean. All right. I was lucky to visit Guave. Her friend, my basketball colleague, and when I was in Grenada, he brought me up to Guave, so I was able to see the house that he said Butler grew up in. Mm-hmm. And you believe in Butler, but Butler is the quintessential Grenadian who came and contributed. I mean, you can't do better than that,
Right.
But I think Butler, like Griffith, was from Montjalou rather than Gore. If my history is correct, I think he was from Montjalou.
I don't know. All I know is that there's a corner. Mm-hmm. He had gone to Grenada that year to produce and to perform a play I have done on Butler. A street theater. We did it in Trinidad and we went to do it there. Unfortunately, the hurricane was coming the same evening and we had to abandon it. So when I went back 3-4 years later, he showed me the place around that same corner and said, that is the house. Maybe he was born there and didn't go up there or vice versa. Or maybe he just totally missed the place. But that is interesting. So we owe Butler a lot of gratitude that, to come from quietly at the lead of our labor movement into what we get today. So that is it. I mean, that's a total calypso when it comes to Butler. But
yeah. But we mentioned a couple of calypsonians well, but I think there is one name in particular that must be included in that. The late great Roy Cape. I mean, his musical contribution. I mean, Trinidad couldn't have music before Roy Cape go Trinidad. I mean, Roy Cape introduced music to Trinidad. I mean, come on, we can't forget Roy Cape.
If you're talking Cape, then you have to mention Gypsy.
Well, of course, I mean, But no, let me tell you, Gypsy said to me once, he said, Godfrey, listen, there are more Grenadians in Trinidad than in Grenada. And I am positive that he's correct. Because he said to me, there's close to about 300,000 Grenadians in Trinidad. Our population in Grenada is just a little over 100,000, 110,000.
No, you're probably very correct. There was a time we say that the entire Labour Point 14 and Laventille population were Grenadian by some way, by birth, by parentage, by whatever. And there was that talk in Trinidad once that there were more Grenadians here. Truly, I mean, not just hyperbole, but that those are fact. That the migration had taken place and there were a lot of people here. But of course, we're talking Grenada from that point of view. But from this point of view, I was talking about Invader. Well, I'll go back where you come from. But we know the anti-Grenadian calypsos. Blakey. Yes.
Blakey.
A couple of Blakey had to have some respect, Blakey had to have some serious respect. Blakey had to do you role.
Send them back to the land. And you know that way you say, when the police hold them, tell them say box, or they say back. In fact, the greatest of that is they tell them say pig, they say hug.
Hug.
I mean, it's a whole different word, but it's the pronunciation, not only the pronunciation alone, but the word and its meaning and so on. And I grew up with that calypso, you know, very small, candy calypso. That was a vicious calypso.
Yeah, it was. It was.
He said they read and spell, but they can't pronounce at all.
But let me tell you, I don't know if you all are aware, but do you all know who actually helped Blakey with that calypso?
Yeah, I heard you told the tale already. So
and this is something that he actually told me. It was the Mighty Bomber. Blakey went to him with this, and Bomber practically helped him complete that calypso.
Which calypso?
Send them back.
Send them back.
Yeah. So Bomber have some Bomber have a hand in our demise in that Kaiso as well.
No, but it falls, Godfrey, it falls right into what Zeno said earlier on, that the flag that Sparrow got for being Grenadian, Bomber was definitely spared that kind of venom and acrimony, you know, from a Trinidad public.
Yeah.
So he felt, you know, emboldened to help Blakey. You know, I could tell you how Grenadians would talk and so on. That's not a problem, because he is not one who is held up and vilified.
Right.
Yeah.
But Blakey, I think Blakey also gave Bomber a little thing in one of his songs, you know. When Blakey felt that he should have won the crown, I think that would have been, but it was
62.
So Bomber won 62. Bomber defeated Sparrow, and then Blakey felt that wasn't right because he said
57.
Yeah,
I think it's 57.
No, but Bomber did. Right. So it was Bomber, and they Sparrow defeated Bomber. Because Blakey said in his calypso, they take it of one Grenadian head and put it in another.
But that reference, of course, was the 64 when Bomber won, and Sparrow were relegated to the title with Kitchener. But the first Blakey calypso dealt with 62, I think it is, when Sparrow lost to Douglas, and Douglas 61, but Blakey in a calypso lambasted Sparrow. I think that calypso is called Sparrow Cry, for being
Sparrow lost. Yeah.
Sparrow lost because Sparrow, they say, was angry backstage after the results announced and so on. So Blakey got a certain time, you know, that thing about putting it on Bomber's head now, when Sparrow and Bomber actually won. Yeah, but Blakey was a writer, and also a lot of calypsos came from other people. So I'm not surprised that he would go by Bomber to get a release, because there were people writing. I don't know what writing for. Well, I think Blakey would write, and then he would also take, because those calypsonians realize you get more in your repertoire if you get different writers, different styles. I mean, that's something Sparrow mastered very early. Sparrow realized I'm going to do 2 albums every year. When he get his 60s to the 60s, he started having writers.
Zeno, I want you to focus your lens on the fact that the Grenadian impact on Trinidad calypso development is tremendous. Why did that happen in Trinidad as opposed to it happening in Grenada? Because, I mean, these guys came to Trinidad and were big. They blow up. I mean, Sparrow came as baby, but the environment of Trinidad created the best calypsonian probably the world has ever seen in terms of performance. And Valentino came over, young, developed into a tremendous calypsonian. You mentioned, you know, that Stalin may have probably been born in Grenada and so on. But so many of those calypsonians came to Trinidad and developed in a way that they probably would not have developed in Grenada. I don't know whether you have ever trained your lens on that, but help us to probably understand that a bit. What do you think caused that?
Well, I don't know. The part of it might just have been, one, the brain drain. If I take your best brains and bring them across by me, what you have left. Part of it might also be Trinidad quickly became the mecca of calypso. I mean, this development was greatest here. and I mean, I take no pride in saying that, no false pride. It's just that it developed here. Not that they didn't develop other places, not that they didn't start other places, but because of the whole situation here and the influx of the Barbadians and the Grenadians and then the Vincentians and then East Indians and the Chinese and that whole influx of people involved in the Calypso thing. And I suppose also because I can't say for Grenada, I don't know what is happening in Grenada in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and so on. But in Trinidad, they had a whole development of a competition and a fight between the colonial powers to take it one way and then people to take it the next way, and so on. And we had to pass in laws to curtail the Calypsonians' power, and so on. So everything here, and then people left here. Now I have no idea, and maybe you know that. You could talk about that. How much Grenadians left Grenada and went north, because Trinidadians went north. We know Houdini and Sir Lancelot later on, and they stayed, right? But Tiller and Tiger and Lion went and were called and come back. Executor, Caressa also went up and stayed a while too. So we had that going that side. And when they come home, there's a kind of greatness there that we survive even in that market. So that probably it. I don't know the situation in Grenada. If them same fellas we talking about, if they had gone back home, what would have been the response, right, of the Grenadian public to these people? A, having accomplished already, or B, going back home when they didn't accomplish much, would they have been given, that opportunity or that welcome to say, yeah, man, you could get better, let's keep going. I don't know. I can't talk for Grenada, and I've never studied it in that method. But I know the reason why we were big, because we went north and we even went south. We went to Guyana, and people were singing calypsos in Guyana, went down there and have shows, and of course we went Panama.
Yes, Panama was another place. Yes, yeah. Right. But I think because as far back as I can recall, calypso became a big thing in Grenada fairly recently, meaning. Because I can recall, as a young fella growing up, our road march used to be a Trinidad song.
Okay.
Because remember, there was a time when Grenada and Trinidad Carnival were the same time. So most of the Trinidadian calypsos, they basically dominated. So Grenadian calypsos were not played per se. One of the most popular radio stations that was listened to in Grenada was 610 radio in Trinidad. So we and I think this is why a lot of Grenadians are very knowledgeable about Trinidadian calypsonians, because that's what we heard, that's what we knew. Yeah, I remember looking at Trinidad de March Gras on a little black and white television, and somebody have to climb the roof and turn the antenna, and then you there telling them, all right, hold a day, no, turn it so, and among the gravels and thing on the TV screen, you would get to see a little thing. So this is what it was. It was a big thing. Trinidad de March Gras would be brought live on 610 radio. Grenadians would listen, and so. This is what we knew, and I think maybe in fact, for me, calypso started to grab attention in the 70s. Because the first thing I can remember clearly had to be around the days of Flying Turkey and so on. When Flying Turkey came out, this young fella and won the Calypso Monarch 3 times in a row, and this became an attention grabber. Now, prior to that, I heard about Melody. and Melody was the guy who was trained by the bomber. So when bomber left Grenada, Melody was the one who stepped in and took his place as the big Calypsonian. But even so, I am not even sure. Maybe I was a little thing on the ground. But from my memory, it was around the time Flying Turkey became this prominent guy. And thereafter, it was no stopping Kaiso in Grenada. So you had Flying Turkey, and then some of the other guys just came, and then, Jamo and down the line.
But before we jump back over to the broader Calypso, what about people like I think in Grenada, Papito and so on?
Papitet.
Yeah.
Right. So that was. I mean, you hear about. I don't know Papitet. I've heard about him. But he would have been around the period, probably around Bomber and say Melody, or maybe a little before that. There was another Calypsonian I heard about, a gentleman called Ziegfeld. I never met him, but I've heard about him. I know he did a stint in Trinidad. And he was here. He lived in Grenada for a while before I think he died. So there were some names you heard about, but like I said, it wasn't a big thing. Trinidad Calypsos, even Barbados. I mean, only. I probably think Grenada, Calypso in Grenada even became a little more prominent than Barbados. For me speaking, I recall Barbados Calypso from the Mighty Gabby. Not before that. Prior to that, I knew of Spooge in Barbados. So I think Trinidad, being one of the first, it sort of dominated, and so a lot of the work got the attention of the other islands. Then you heard there were the two from Antigua, Short Shirt and Swallow, and then obviously it came around. So there were some names outside, but other than that, I think it was for me, particularly when I became fully exposed to Calypso, it would have been in the 70s, mid 70s. And thereafter it and I'll get back to Zed and let him further clarify and so on. But what I was trying to get, I think just as Harlem created that space and Greenwich Village for a certain kind of development of jazz and literature in the US of A. I think Trinidad, at a particular point in time, 30s into the early 60s, played that role within the Caribbean. Again, memory. I think that the great, and I could easily say that George Lamin, I think he had a teaching stint in Trinidad in the early 30s. And he said that, he said basically Trinidad is such a rebellious place, and that is how he termed Trinidad. Trinidad is rebellious, right? And one could say that Butler coming to Trinidad and being that leader in the 30s, 35 and so on, in terms of the oil demonstrations, definitely kind of signal that this place has a kind of energy, and certain people coming from outside were able to tap into that energy and just rise to the fore. I mentioned earlier on, like Elton George Griffith, who came to Trinidad and led that whole Baptist movement towards the end of the Prohibition period. Would leave Grenada as a simple, probably tradesman, but come as and become a leading figure in that movement to end Prohibition and so on. So that Grenada played quite a significant role, dating back even to Cedula, 1783. But let me throw it back on to Zeno so that he can further expound on this meeting of minds and so on that took place in Trinidad.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I mean, remember, our employment situation in Grenada would be such that people looking to leave to get a betterment. So, if they could find is Trinidad. and they will head to head this way. Despite all the things the Calypso say and the Calypsonians say and how they treated the islanders when they came, it was a place to go, right?
And also, just to add to that, one would recall clearly that around those times, in terms of the economics, the TT dollar. There was a time when from Trinidad you send money to Grenada and you would probably get $1 and something cents for one TT dollar before things change. So clearly there was this attraction, of a better life in Trinidad. And when you move to different places, you become exposed to certain things, and then being around it, you realize you probably have a talent for something. And you explore that. I've seen it happen, many, many times. I mean, for me, I am a good example of that. Going to primary school, I never knew that I had talent to be a sportsman. It wasn't until I got into secondary school and I see fellas jumping and running, and I said I go and try. And the next thing I know, I end up representing Grenada at Carifta Games and doing all kind of funny thing. I mean, simply by just being exposed to things, you kind of get to realize there is an interest, and so it's pulled out of you. So it could have been something like that. Grenadians going to Trinidad, being exposed to the Kaiso, realizing, but that is something I could do and I like. And then lo and behold, because that it's sort of in you, it just spiral, and then and there you go.
And having to survive too.
Well,
because you have to eat.
Well, of course.
And if you have a little talent, you better exploit it and survive.
Yes.
Because those days, back in the 40s and 50s, Calypso was not a golden thing. It was an outlaw thing.
Yeah. Yep.
With the society. So Yeah, so all right.
Yeah. So let's just take a short break, and then we're gonna come back and talk a little bit more of what's happening now with the Kaiso. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back in just a moment. Hey.
Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe, nestled in the serene surroundings of Le Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, is the perfect spot to unwind and relax after a stressful event or when you wish to spoil yourself in the most comfortable and relaxing atmosphere. They offer many different massage modalities, including thigh hammer, washer and cupping, signature thigh deep tissue massage, also facials to depuff and tighten pores, deep cleanse full body, hair and nail treatments and more. Take a walk down to the cafe for authentic Thai breakfasts and delicious traditional dishes. Choose from our special mixed drinks, both hot and cold. Opens daily. Visit Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe today, Le Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, because you will not regret you did.
For 35 years, one name has stood with us. Through the storms and sunshine, we've been by your side. Whether you're on the road, at sea, on site, or at home, with Grenadian General Insurance, confidence comes standard. It's never been a better time to renew and update for added benefits. Join us in celebrating 35 years of safeguarding what matters most. Grenadian General Insurance, 35 years strong. Visit Grenadian General Insurance on Scott Street, St. George's. Call us at 440-2434 or visit grenadiangeneral.gd to get the coverage you need.
Sunrise Diagnostic Center is the place to visit for your medical laboratory test, ultrasound, X-ray, mammogram, ECG, and ultrasound guided and bone density test. Also available are COVID PCR and antigen tests. Most results are available within 24 hours. Sunrise Diagnostic Center is located at number 9 NS Building, Melville Street, St. George's, with sub-offices in Grand Anse, Wall Street, and Grenville, St. Andrew. Visit Sunrise Diagnostic Center Center today at any of their offices or call 440-3709 or cell phone 415-9522.
Welcome back. It's Kaiso Talk, and we've been chatting about the influence of Grenada on Kaiso in Trinidad, and indeed it was a significant influence. But over the years, for a lot of different reasons, and we've gotten a lot of reasons, opinions on why things have changed. But there is one guarantee: Calypso would always be around. I can guarantee that it would always be around. So Val, we in Kaiso season. I wanted to kind of get, unless you have other, something else that you'd want to throw at Zeno, I wanted to kind of get a sense of what was happening, but we can deal with yours and then, come back to that.
We would definitely be doing the present, but before we get to the present, because it's in the present, we cannot leave out the fact that William Monroe started Soca Monarch in the early 90s, I would say 92, 93, right there, 93. There's a story where looking at the Calypso Monarch on television, he found that the faster Calypsos were probably getting a raw deal. They would put them into the semi-final or finals and then throw them out or relegate them to the cellar position. And he felt that you need to have a competition that would deal with specifically that music. And obviously that's the rise of soca, putting soca to the forefront. So I want, and because soca is such a dominant force at present, these years after, right? I would want Zeno to comment on that. Zeno.
Yeah, the Soca Monarch began maybe with the faster songs, and it soon ended up as a different category. And when people talk about soca, they forget that Soca 1, Soca 2, and now Soca 3, because the soca that began in the 70s and went to the 90s, that 20-year period, basically the Calypso song with a little different tempo.
Yes.
And when the Soca Monarch was introduced, it took about 5 years to move that. All those early years of Soca Monarch, people were singing Calypso, and someone just had a quicker clip, a little faster pace. And then the Soca Monarch, people say, listen, to keep the Soca Monarch apart, they would just, they would take the Calypso out. Because in the early years, I had done some check on it. A lot of Calypsonians would just go to the Soca Monarch and survive. Right? So Super would dominate, and then Ronnie would dominate. Ronnie with him for a couple of years. And so on. But there were people singing Calypso, and they would just sing it a little more, and they were in the soca. Then they were purged. So by the time we get about 90-something, 97, somewhere there, only all around there was left of the traditional Calypsonians who could get into the Soca Monarch. And I have a theory, and that is that rejection caused Calypsonians to go another direction. Since they couldn't make it into the Soca Monarch anymore, then they would not bother to make a quote-unquote fast song in Calypso. And I think we went to Skinner Park, and sometimes we had 40 slow, and 3-4 of them was still exciting, but a lot of them were just dirges, funereal kind of stuff. And you were seeing that because of the competition, soca and Calypso pulling further apart. So Calypso became the slow ones, as they say, which make no sense as a definition. And soca is the faster one, right? Because you had fast Calypsos and you had slow soca. when I used to challenge students and say, well, if you say the slow one, what about Sugar Boom Boom and Me Lover?
But also, I remember Taxi running second in Soca Monarch with the Frenchman.
Yeah,
I mean the Frenchman is a him as far as I concerned.
but
I mean, it's so slow. So you know.
But you see, but that's the thing. Slow doesn't stop it because Bahia Gale slow. So what happened is that we now have, because of competition, a preconceived notion of what it's supposed to be. And that means if it's the wood march, it must be fast, have to be fast, power. And then in the midst of that argument, I told them, but just 2 years ago, the wood march was Michael Teja singing DNA, you know. I feel like I jump in tongue again, I feel like I run in tongue again, very slow. So when we create these notions, we tend to try to fit into that box. So Frenchman soca could easily be a good thing. Another soca, because those things that Duke and Tambu was singing at the end of the 80s, if there was soca monarch competition, and they would have.
They wouldn't, yeah.
They would do well.
Thunder and things like that,
Before we leave this thing, I used to tease people to show them how concepts of where Soca Cup is. I used to tell students, how many times did Marshall Montano lose the Soca Monarch title? And they never get it right. Because they always say, none, never lose. One maybe, never lose. So let me lose 4 times, you know. Because 93 to 96, I think he got a 3rd place and then a 7th and a 11th and a. He wasn't competing then with Super Blue. How things change. But in the concept, right, they couldn't see that. And therefore, if you stay in 2026 and look backwards, everything before the arrival of Bungie, you could call it soca, but they used to call it calypso, you know. And the other way around, as I said, I said it here last week, but I have a list of 200 plus calypsos with the name soca, the word soca, the title. Because when we get into the 70s and the 80s, anything that we play with that new delicious beat, we call it soca. And now it's a whole different thing. So soca is now what's playing today. Soca is not even what Marshall and them was singing in the 90s, what Super was singing in the 90s. That is old school thing now. So it keeps changing, and just to finish at that point, you know, I still tell students in classes when I lecture and I'm talking, I say, one day your grandchildren will come to talk to you and say, Granny, you used to listen to Fian and Bungie? That's stupidness. Because when the music change, they'll be passing just like how we look at, you know.
Oh yes, so definitely.
That whole thing, and I don't like the competition. We have to live with it because it's a present reality. But what competition does, soca and calypso competition, is take away from the originality. So you know you're going to make a song, I'm making this song because I know this is what the judges like, this is what they expect me to be, this must be in this kind of format and this kind of way. And as soon as brother say he's not going back in the competition, he started doing all kind of fantastic things. He was to give me 3 verses, or 4 verses and 4 choruses. So he just do his own thing. And people, you know, I mean, people still make a calypso expecting it to be judged by their friends, by the tent, by the street, and so on. But the constraints of a competition with particular rules and things, and one of these days, I don't know, you might invite me back, but one of these days I could talk about this thing they call a presentation.
Definitely we have to speak about that. We have to speak about it.
Yeah, and I think we missed the point and missed the boat totally on that. But because of the competition, we force ourselves in that. So, yeah, I mean, all praises to the community of Soca Monarch. It gives a lot of younger people whose forte is that kind of music. And I'm still today I won't say angry, but I'm disappointed at the fact that a lot of Calypsonians, most of the Calypsonians, are not taking the new rhythms and beats that was infectious that the young people like and sing it as Calypso. Nothing will stop it, right? Because we have seen, and sure I mentioned that before, that we have people doing it and going to the finals. But as long as we stick with this attitude that it has to be a long, slow one to get through. And if it's, anyway, let me don't go that direction because I'm already nearly past my bedtime.
No, I mean, what you had mentioned in terms of the separation, in terms of Calypso and Soca happened, I remember, I mean, David telling me rather that the reason that he is not going back into the competition is that he does not want to be pigeonholed into making that particular kind of song. He said if you enter the competition, then you have to make a certain kind of song. And he doesn't want to put that kind of restriction on his creativity. So that after 2 years of it, he stepped away from it. You know, and rightly you said that out of those things, you know, you have Song for a Lonely Heart and many others that would not go into a competition. You know,
my favorite.
Best melodies, you know, one of his best melodies ever, you know, mango juice running down your hand and so on, you know, in a Calypso competition, you'd miss all of that. So that fast forward to the present, I did mention that, of course, you have a change in the politics, and they would see Calypso in a particular manner. So that what has happened while you mentioned that, you know, Errol Fabian and others are in the village, and you had and Kenny is showcasing the queens and the young kings, and they would probably do the finals there. The regular space where Calypsonians would grace the stage during the week and weekend and perform their songs, that opportunity has been blocked for them. Every night, the stage is given to soca artists, predominantly. Now, the village is successful. I'm saying that. I have never seen so many people in the village. You had to turn back people last Friday, right? Thousands of people are attending the village. It's a phenomenal success, you know? But the music of the day in the village is predominantly soca. Yes.
So I've been telling that the Calypsonians that they need to find another way. All right, let me go back. Before there was a tent. In other words, the building that they call a tent, because it started with a tent, right? With Douglas. Calypsonians was found spaces to sing, right? So none of the tents are empty. Calypsonians have to find other spaces, whether it's online, whether it is in Kenny Place, whether it is in a nightclub, on Spotify. They have to be more creative. Because what is happening is that when you open on the tent, you get 100 people. And when the judges come, you get 100 people. For the next 8 nights, you're singing before 5 and 6 people. Yes. There's enough people interested in Calypso or the traditional kind to also fill all those tents. I think you're in a kind of denial, and that is why they're struggling there. You have to come out of the denial and say, your time has passed. Your style of Calypso has passed. We always have it because it's always, you know, theater we had, like R&B in America. But there's no way that some of these R&B people who were big in the 60s could play before big audiences. They have to get smaller places. And the philosophy that, well, I don't know, that thing about Calypso is alive and well. No, it's not alive and well, because 50 years ago, the tents would begin in sometimes Boxing Day, sometimes New Year's Day, and go for 60, 70 performances every night. They're moving from the tent to different parts of the country, and tents would clash in the savannah. There's not a spare night. In fact, when I'm gonna call your name and it'll slip out my head. Anyway, the Kiskili Caravan people.
Right. Gary Doe and John Afun and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that Calypso was saying is that they were getting more money, but less performance time, because that thing when he says 3 days a week is enough. We pay it as if you're singing a whole week, but people miss that. So now you have no audiences 10-wise because we cannot satisfy that. And I'm saying you need to. All right, let me put it this way. I said this to Calypso people who I know in the body. When in 1933, Lion and Attila realized their tent was getting some pressure from the other tents. Mm-hmm. Right? What they did was create the Calypso duet, which morphed into the Calypso skit, and people will flock to see that. So you have to find a new way to say, getting the cross back to Calypso. You need to sit down and say, I am Tuko, I am an addict, and start to build again, honestly, and say, what could we do? So all these stakeholders, you will never get back those large crowds, because soca is a new music, and young people like that. But you have to find a way to say how much we could get back, how much we could hold on to, how much of the traditional we could keep, how much we could mix with the modern, right, and still get to a certain story being told, etc., etc. And I think that is what we're not doing. But I know the thing that rather than just talk about that, because the new dispensation in politics, they go wake up in the morning and realize that the people's money that the government will give you to run your tent don't exist. Yeah. Because we have seen in Trinidad in the last few years, that caravan tent in the east went for 2 weekends, and the third weekend, they had no music. They had to use tracks because they couldn't pay the band.
Right, that closed down.
That closed down. And opening and lasting 1 week. But because you have money to back you up, you could do it. Mm-hmm. There might not be enough Californians to go around the country. They might have to having one tent, audition and get about 30 people and take it around the country. The others will have to find other avenues. I don't have no solution to it without discussing it, but I know it is a serious problem. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
Let me insert, no, because we staying in the present. And part of staying in the present is understanding what is happening before us now, right? And as a theater person, you know what that means, being in the present. This year, there is no Icons tent. Crew does not have a tent coming. So you have a number of Calypsonians who were faithful to him for many years without a space to perform, because there's a change in the politics, and of course it means that Crew is sidelined, so that is also part of what is happening in the present. So I just want to put that out there also.
Mm-hmm. No, but I didn't know that Crew wasn't silent before. I remember Brother Resistance talking to me. He was guest lecturing in one of my Calypso lectures, and somebody asked him about that same Tuco situation. Why did Tuco want to, I don't know the term he used, let's say isolate Tuco and the Icons tent. And Resistance said that Tuco walked out the meeting where the discussion was taking place of which tent will get paid. So Tuco tent didn't receive any government money, and it had to survive with none. Right? So I'm surprised they lasted long, because in this dispensation, as I said, tent is paying before small crowds. I want Coco opening the tent in Faizabad, and there's 3 people sitting by the bar, and that's the whole audience. And it's difficult to pay performers. I know he went to a hotel last year, and they were good Calypsos, right? But that difficulty of the money, unless you get a sponsor. And I mean, as rightly says, with a new political thing, it's hard if you have that attitude. I am very disappointed. Well, I shouldn't say disappointed. It didn't surprise me. Right? I saw it coming. Calypsonians have moved away from being what Valentino called the true opposition to singing for party. Yes. And not for country, despite what Stalin say. I know people will never put party before country. We have done that, right? There's a war inside there, and therefore we singing to support the party. And that's an interesting thing, I mean, that's something that Attila and Tiger and radio, and even, later on Duke and Stalin and Valentino and Explainer would never have envisioned that a day would come when you're faced with a government and you're not singing nothing about them because that's your party in government. And the other thing that is worse is that, it began since 1986, minor way, right? Because when they did vote them out, people were very angry and so on, right? But in 96, when Pandey came into power, Valentino went to Skinner Park in the fiesta and said, why my Indian brother can't run the show? And the people's college don't get heckled. And after that, it is a normal thing in Skinner Park. If you do not support the red party, or you try to support the yellow party, you get pelted out of Skinner Park. Right. So and I think that is a bad thing, because what we do is shoot ourselves in the foot, that division of Calypsonians. So by the time Coco got sued, right, it was already late. We were already a divided fraternity in the sense that, why should I now support Coco? Because he was not supporting me. He wasn't supporting Calypso. He was supporting Red. And so on. So a lot of the Calypsonians, the first two, Ember, Crazy, Gypsy, they went to Skinner Park, Aloes himself, and get real pressure to sing a Calypso that say, I don't like red, I like yellow. And it's not the quality of Calypso, but who you support. And that is a bad thing, because we lost that. The Calypso was a fearless commentator. Anybody come in front of him. And just to finish on this point, that is why Orlando Octave get himself in trouble. The Calypso I like a lot, but he made the mistake of calling the people who now get mouthed. He called Mr. Shaq, and he got no support, because Shaq was one of those who used to say, whatever color in front of him, he would confront them, because that is Shaq's personality. Shaq is always angry, always angry, so he always angry with everybody. And I don't think Orlando could get out of Skinner Park if he gets to Skinner Park with that now, because he touched the wrong man. Yes. Even though he's probably right on the others. So that I am very aggrieved at that whole division in Calypso, where you take your Calypso to support a political party rather than they bring whoever in front of you, they bring them to the best behavior. And we're not doing that. And those who do that, you could hear from Short Pants and Funny and all around there, and so on, and Slick and Kurt Allen and Lady Gypsy. They were always, saying, and even Lady Gypsy now, after all the barrage against Rowley in the last 4 years, she was still supporting, And so, I mean, if you're going to be a Calypsonian, you can't turn your eye when things happening bad. You have to talk to the people. Anyway, I'm not going to take long on that. I'm supposed to be going to bed early. How much time?
Well, we actually close to wrapping up, but I'm listening to you all, and I'm trying to sort of deduce in my mind whether this thing is that bad in Trinidad, with the politics and Calypsonians actually placing themselves in a situation where they actually marginalized because of political affiliation and political parties sidelining Calypsonians for lack of support. I mean, is it that bad, or?
Yeah, it is reality.
This is worrying. This is worrying.
Government.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Tino. The government has been the institution that has been supporting or keeping Calypso afloat, basically paying all the bills, right? So that now with the red party out of office and yellow has taken over, then the code has changed. I I would measure what I give you, let me see, based on how I think you're going to support me. But I will not create a space, let's say like in the village, so that you can come there and vilify me. So I will keep you out. And that was a space for Calypsonians to earn. Now they do not have that space open for them to earn. And that space is given entirely to soca artists.
I can understand that, because when that thing started in the 90s and the shift took place, right? And as Watchman say, he's the leader of the opposition. Because Tokro and Aloes and Choctaws them going somewhere. But that whole idea, you go to the thing and you vilify the East Indian population in a manner that they used to do in the 30s and 40s, but this is now the 90s, and some of those people never went back to the tent. So when you kick down one of the posts of the house, people who would financially could have support you, and then you find yourself now struggling, and then the crowds have gone. And I mean, that's not the only reason, because as I said just now, a new music is in town. And when you're going up as a young person, you don't want to hear the juki. As you start that way, then people are not going to listen. And I know it for a fact. Let me put it this way. I used to boast that I've never played a calypso for a student that they didn't like. Meaning, the context in which they get the calypso, they still like it. Because we're talking about a particular thing. And when they get that context, and it's, I remember one fella from UB, one of my UB students, I played for the class, Shorty's The Art of Making Love. And he said, if I knew Calypso was like that, I'd have been listening a long time. Right? Because he didn't know, he wouldn't listen, because, and again, another example, I bought Brian London to my school to do, but he actually came to hand out some prizes for the school Calypso competition. And I got to sing a little thing after. And as he started to sing, the students who were in there, there were not many left, but that time, walked out. And one student left, stayed, because she lived around the corner.
Right.
And when Brian sang No Vacancy, she said, "Way boy, the mother should have stayed, this well good." They're now being exposed in that context to something. And without that, we gone. So if you could, if the Calypsonian people could pick and select, like another way, when you have a Calypso musical, those plays that have Calypso, the Walt Gibbons trilogy, and the others, Roma Spencer has two, and I have a couple myself, and Darwin Phillip and so on. In the plays, when the Calypso is being sung, no young person to say I want to leave and come out, because the story in the play. Like for instance, I make the example when the police chasing Jericho, right? And they singing, "We're looking for Jericho, Jericho, where they?" Nobody will say, "That's a Calypso." Shocks me when I hear the Calypso, because the atmosphere and the plot is thick and unfolding. So they better take advice and say, and that's to say that point you're making about the village. I used to say a long time, if I was the Prime Minister now, back in the days when she came the first time, and I want to stop the power of the Calypsos and the criticism and so on me, I should be promote soca more.
Yeah, of course.
And like you say, you guys will do it. I don't do it. I don't give. No, listen, that's a new thing, When in the 30s and 40s I wanted to curb the Calypso, they just put more money on the ones that saying good things, and in the mass too. You put money in pretty mass, the traditional mass go there. Right? You put money in so always put more money and for people to sing, go back on me, put your hand in the air. And then the people who have the messages, how the fellas say it? Sing the song that could bring people down, sing the song that could make people strong, sing the songs, all the different things, the power of the Calypso, that's gone. So a lot of reasons why Calypso has shot itself in the foot and struggling to survive. But let me end by saying I have heard this year more quote unquote good Calypsos than I've heard in a few years behind. I'm hoping that means that when they go to Skinner Park for the fest, that there'll be more good calypsos than before. The law of averages say that I used to get 5 out of the 14 Skinner Park, I might get 10.
Yeah,
That's another story.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen,
Let me go.
I would love for us to stay and chat, but that's all the time we have. As you know, I thank you so very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and definitely we'll be having you back, to continue to discuss Kaiso.
Some other time. Let the season go on.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
All right, so people out there, good night. As I say, past my bedtime already, but we're going to live.
Yes.
For Calypso up here.
Indeed.
So see you all around.
Yes, all the best. Yeah.
Great.
Val, thanks again. Your last words.
But I just want to say thanks for Zeno for staying the course. I know when he started, he wanted to probably curtail a bit earlier. He has something doing so that, but I appreciate the fact that he stayed the course, and we had such a intriguing discussion. So thanks for that, and this Calypso talk continues because it is serious business.
It is,
and I think that is the aspect that we have to look at. That Calypso is a business, but we are not managing our business well.
Right, that's right. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you folks for staying with us. It was a pleasure. In fact, I did get a call earlier before you guys went out. Someone was asking us to do a program on the whole gender issue in Calypso. And I'm thinking a two-part. Some of the challenges that our women face, that's one. And then the type of material used in Calypso as it relates to gender. So Val, it's something that we would talk about. And of course, she's willing to come on the program as well and have a chat with us. So thank you guys. Do have a good night. Tomorrow, We Culture continues right here. Be sure to join us. Have a good night. All the best.
Great. Yeah, man. Bye.
Yes.